Okay, I'm going to get started by welcoming all of you guys. Welcome to Wat Tung. Nice to see everyone here. Welcome to everyone who's joining us online. We're going to do a meditation tonight, a guided meditation. This is each Sunday night I come together with students and guide you either in breathing mindfulness meditation or loving kindness meditation. And then afterwards, I just share a little bit of the teachings of the Buddha with you. And then really mainly just open up to questions, whether you're here at the temple or you're online. You can ask any and all questions that you like. If you'd like to join for meditation, we have chanting sheets over there. You're welcome to help yourself because it's really nice to chant on your way in to meditation. It helps you to prepare your mind. It's important to understand that with chanting, that the Buddha never used chanting as a rite, ritual, ceremony, worship, or prayer, anything like that. It was used as a learning tool or as a learning device. So if you like to chant along, just keep in mind that it's helping you to ease your mind into meditation and get more benefit out of the meditation. It's not a ritual or a ceremony or prayer or anything like that. Once we're in the meditation, I'm going to provide you some guidance where I'll be teaching you and instructing you how to meditate while we're meditating. Then we're going to come out of, and then there's going to be a period of time where it's quiet and we're just all meditating together. Then we'll come out of the meditation with some more chanting. And then that's where I'll just share a little bit of teachings with you guys and then really see what questions you guys have. So if you'd like to join along, just make yourself comfortable in whatever seat you like, whether you're seating on the floor, in a chair, you can sit however you like. Arahang Samma Sambuddho Mahakeva Bhutang Mahakavanang Abhivateyami Savakato Mahakavata Tammo Dhammang Namasami Supatipano Mahakavato Savakasangho Sanghang Namami Namo Rasa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Namo Rasa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Namo Rasa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Iti piso Mahakava Arahang Samma Sambuddho Vicacaranang Sammuno Sakato Rokavitu Anutero Purisa Dhamma Sati Satatawa Manusang Bhutto Bhagavati. Okay, with the lower body and hands and arms comfortable, and the upper body erect, just close the eyes and start breathing in through the nose and out through the nose. Here, you're just looking to establish the breath, a nice, natural, steady, consistent breath. Not forced or controlled, just a gradual inhale through the nose, experiencing the full breath. And then whenever you're ready, exhale out through the nose. Breathing in and out. Breathing in and out. Your breath may not match up with the guidance that I'm providing, and that's okay. This is your practice. I'm just here for guidance. You can use this voice as a reminder that whenever you get to the next inhale, breathing gradually through the nose, developing a nice, natural, steady, consistent breath. And then whenever you're ready, exhale out through the nose, experiencing the full breath. Breathing in and out. Breathing in and out. With the breath well established, start fixating the mind on the breath, either the sound of the breath coming into the nose or the sensation of air moving over the skin into the nose. The breath is the present moment. Fixate the mind on the breath, the present moment. Breathing in and out. Breathing in and out. With the mind fixated on the breath, whenever you notice that it moves off the breath, cut that off, let it go, and come back to the breath, the present moment. No need to observe the thought, label it, judge it, analyze it, or even try to figure out where it's coming from. Whenever you notice that the mind is moved off the breath, cut that off, let it go, and come back to the breath, the present moment. Breathing in and out. Breathing in and out. I'm going to be quiet now and let you do this work of focusing on the breath, cutting off and letting go anytime the mind moves off the breath. You have nowhere to go. There's nothing to do. No one needs you right now. This is your time to focus on the breath. Breathing in and out. สัมมาสัมพุทโธมหาเกวาโอตังมหาเกวันนังอภิวาเตมิสวากขาโตมหาเกวตาธัมโมดามังนามัสสามิสุปฏิปันโนมหาเกวโตสาวกสังโฆสังฆังนามามินับโมอะระหะสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะนับโมอะระหะสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะนับโมอะระหะสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะอิติปิโสมหาเกวาอะระหังสัมมาสัมพุทโธวิชาจารนังสัมมุโนสกาโตโรกาวิตุอนุเตโรปุริสาดามาสติสัตตาตาวามนุสรังโอโตภาควาติ Okay, if you guys would like to slowly make your way out of meditation. Once again, good evening to all of you guys. Nice to see everyone here. Welcome to everyone who's joining online as well. What I do on Sunday nights is I guide you guys in a meditation like this, and then I share a little bit of the taste of the teachings of the Buddha with you guys, but mainly I just open up to questions. Anything you guys would like to ask, whether it's related to the teachings of the Buddha or something that you're seeing here with the temples in Thailand or anything that you've been exposed to that you'd like to get some clarification on, you're welcome to ask any and all questions when we get to that period. If you'd like to ask questions, we have microphones in the white bowl in the center of the room. We have some up here as well. If you get a microphone, that'd be helpful because then the people online will be able to hear you. All you need to do is bring this back to your seat, press the gray button. You'll see the lights come on, and if you hold it up to your chin, we'll be able to hear you here at the temple, and they'll be able to hear you online as well. If you speak here without a microphone, they won't be able to hear you online. And then you can keep these with you because you might have more than one question, or someone around you might have a question, and you can share your mic with them. And then if you're not using it, if you could turn it off, that'll be helpful so we don't get feedback through the speakers. And then for anybody who's online, you can put your questions into Facebook, YouTube, or Zoom in the comment section. I'll be able to see that. Or in Zoom, you can raise your hand electronically, unmute your microphone, and ask any and all questions you like that way. So this is called Breathing Mindfulness Meditation. This is a primary form of meditation that the Buddha used in order to move his mind to enlightenment. There's other meditations that he taught as well. There's actually a total of 4. And you would learn these different meditations as part of your journey to enlightenment. But you would need more than just meditation to be able to get to enlightenment. You wouldn't be able to just meditate your way to enlightenment. This is one of the biggest myths about the life story of the Buddha. People think he sat under a tree, he meditated, and then instantly got to enlightenment. And this actually isn't true. It was gradual training, gradual practice, and gradual progress that trained his mind to be able to get to this enlightened mental state. But this particular meditation was a primary form of training in terms of meditation that he used in addition to other techniques that he used in order to train his mind, because it addresses one of the primary problems in the mind. So what enlightenment is where the mind is completely peaceful, calm, serene, and content with joy. By the time you get to enlightenment, you won't experience any anger, sadness, frustration, irritation, annoyance, guilt, shame, fear, stress, anxiety, loneliness, boredom, shyness, resentment, jealousy. All of this can be eliminated from the mind through training the mind. Oftentimes people think that these types of feelings are being caused by something external, but it's impossible for other people to cause you to be angry or frustrated. But this is what the mind believes with its lack of wisdom in the unenlightened state. You need to be able to see the truth that the Buddha helps you to be able to see through your own learning, independently verifying his teachings, and then practicing that it's your own mind that's causing these feelings. This particular meditation is helping you to address that. What is causing these discontent feelings is that the mind is holding on and it's craving permanence. It's wanting things to be a certain way. It's expecting things to be a certain way. And it can only be happy if it gets what it wants. The mind is craving permanence while you live in an impermanent world. Everything is constantly changing around you, but the mind craves for things to be permanent. So for example, if you get together with a boyfriend or girlfriend and you're really happy and excited about that, well, that's because the mind's getting what it wants. It's getting this new person in your life. You're getting maybe affection. You're getting this new person's calling you and checking in on you, maybe inviting you to movies, to the dinner. Maybe you're going to the park, having great conversations. Maybe you're even having intimate contact. This is the mind's craving, desire, attachment that's producing those pleasant feelings. But then it's only a matter of time before this relationship ends. It's over. In fact, if you guys are even together for the rest of your life, the relationship's still going to end at some point because you guys are going to die. And now when the relationship's over, the mind really struggles with that because it's holding on and craving permanence, wanting this relationship to be permanent. Oftentimes people think that it's your love that's causing those painful feelings or your care in that situation, but it's your mind holding on and craving permanence. You can see this with other more simple examples. Like if you get really happy when it's sunny outside, when it rains, you'll get angry or frustrated, right? Or if your bank account balance is up here and you get really, really happy and excited, but when it goes down here, you'll get angry or frustrated. The only thing that's happened is change. That's all that it is. It just went from sun to rain. And you can see there's no other person even involved there. And when your bank account balance went from here to here, all that happened was change. That's it. But the mind craves permanence, and it can only be happy when it's getting what it wants. You can think about when we were children, we went to our parents and we asked for chocolate and ice cream, and we really wanted chocolate and ice cream, and they gave it to us, and we were so happy and excited about that. And then the next day we asked them for chocolate and ice cream, and they gave it to us, and we were so happy and excited about this chocolate and ice cream. But at some point we asked them, Mommy and Daddy, can I have chocolate and ice cream? And they said, no, you can't have chocolate and ice cream. We were so angry because we didn't get what we wanted and what we expected. But we thought it was Mom and Dad that was causing us to be angry, where in reality it was our own mind. So oftentimes people go around the world believing that it's other people that are causing these feelings. And because of that, you stay stuck in this continuous cycle of experiencing discontent feelings over and over and over again, never really truly understanding what's causing it. And you don't actually apply a solution to actually fix it. But the Buddha figured out what was actually causing these discontent feelings and the tools and techniques of how to eliminate it. So this meditation, when you're focused on the breath and the mind moves off the breath, and you're bringing it back, the goal here isn't to eliminate your thoughts. Sometimes that's what people think when you're hearing the guidance and the instruction to, as your mind moves off the breath, to cut that off and let it go and come back to the breath. They think that they're supposed to eliminate their thoughts. You're always going to have thoughts as long as you're alive. Even enlightened beings still have thoughts in meditation. The difference is that in the unenlightened state, you will have a bombardment of thoughts. You'll have thought. You might have had that today. Or you might have had a thought and you followed it, you looked at it, you played with it, you indulged in it, you were like 2 minutes down the road and you're like, oh yeah, that's right, I'm meditating. Let me bring my mind back to the breath. So that's what an unenlightened being will experience. But in the enlightened mental state, When you have a thought, you'll notice it right away. You'll cut it off and let it go and come right back to the breath. And then there'll be quietness and stillness between your thoughts. That's the difference. And this is really helpful for you. So if 10, 15, 20 times during your meditation, you had to cut off and let go and come back to your breath, what this is doing is training your mind to let go. Because with craving, desire, attachment, where you're craving permanence, your mind's holding on, doesn't know how to let go, but you need to train it to let go. And that's what's going to help you to regain your peace and your joy. So for example, if you're checking in at an airport and you think your flight's leaving in 1 hour and you're checking in your bags and the person at the ticket counter says, "Hey, sir, ma'am, your flight's not leaving for 3 hours. You can't check your luggage in yet." And you notice anger and frustration coming in, right? Because maybe your flight's delayed. You notice anger and frustration coming in. It's not the airline company that's causing this. It's your craving for permanence. I want every airplane to take off on time, where it's not possible. There's going to be maintenance issues. There's going to be crew issues. There's going to be weather issues. If you travel enough, you're going to experience a delay. But when you notice that anger coming up when you're standing there at the ticket counter, if you've been training your mind with this meditation, you've built this internal mechanism where you can cut off and let go. Because if you allow that anger to come into your mind, now it's going to come into your speech and your actions, and you're going to be hostile and bitter and harsh. That's what the mind usually does, because it perceives that anger as coming from something external. And what you'll tend to do is you'll tend to push people away. You'll be bitter, harsh, and hostile to them, or you'll put your expectations on them and try to pressure them and try to get them to do things your way. So if you're doing this meditation regularly and other things that the Buddha taught, you'll be able to cut off and let go, because you'll see that anger arising and you can protect the mind. You're not suppressing your feelings or repressing them. That's not what the Buddha is teaching you. He's teaching you to cut it off and let it go before it even becomes a feeling, because there's a early warning system that you have built into this body that you have that's alerting you that you're about to get angry. You're about to get frustrated. You're about to experience shyness or disappointment or embarrassment or loneliness or guilt or shame or fear. It's bodily sensations. There's these bodily sensations. With something like anger, it's usually tingling in the body, tightening in the chest, tightening in the throat, heat in the face, pressure in the skull. This is the early warning system alerting you, hey, you're about to experience a feeling. And now what the Buddha teaches you to do is cut that off and let it go. And if you do this enough with all the other teachings that the Buddha shares with you, it'll never arise. For an enlightened being, it's physically impossible for anger or frustration or any of these other feelings to arise, because the causes and conditions that produce them inside the mind have been uprooted. They've been eliminated out of the mind. But there's this training period that you go through that you need to be vigilant. You need to watch over your mind, watching to see when this anger is arising, when this frustration is arising, when the loneliness and boredom and guilt and shame and fear and all these other feelings, so that you can cut off and let go. And there's a whole path that the Buddha taught that has other techniques besides just meditation that's going to gradually transform your mind to get to the point where not only have you eliminated discontent feelings, where you won't experience anger and sadness and frustration and all those other things, but you'll experience focus, concentration, clarity, and deep memory, because your mind's going to be performing optimally when you get into the enlightened mental state. In the unenlightened state, you'll lack focus, concentration, clarity, and memory. You'll notice by the time you get to enlightenment that all your relationships are harmonious, because in the unenlightened state, you'll have a certain amount of bitterness, harshness, and hostility that you'll put out in certain relationships. Maybe with your parents, with your siblings, maybe with your life partner. Maybe if you have children, you might be bitter and harsh to them, and it's just damaging your relationships. By the time you get to enlightenment, you can be polite, kind, friendly, and respectful with everybody around you. By the time you get to enlightenment, you won't even experience a bad mood anymore, that it's physically impossible for you to experience a bad mood. So there's this path that the Buddha taught of this better way of life. It's not based in belief. You're not believing a bunch of things and then hoping something good happens when you die. It's also not rules and commandments that you have to follow. It's also not rites, rituals, ceremonies, worship, and prayer. If you're seeing those kinds of things associated with the teachings of the Buddha, those are actually misunderstandings of his teachings. He taught you to learn, examine, and investigate his teachings, to reflect on those, to verify if they're true or they're false. And then you practice his teachings, integrating them into your day-to-day life and training your mind. And through this process, you're cultivating wisdom about how your mind works, how the world works. And this is what it means to awaken to enlightenment, is that you're cultivating wisdom about the world around you. And as you're cultivating this wisdom, you'll be able to navigate the world more peacefully. Because when you live in a world that you don't understand, then you'll struggle, you'll have difficulties. That's what stress and anxiety and all that is that your mind struggling to live in a world that you don't understand. So you can awaken, or you can cultivate wisdom about the world around you and how your mind works, and this is going to allow you to navigate the world more peacefully. One of the ways that I think about this is nowadays pretty much everything and anything comes with an instruction manual, right? I have this pitcher of water on my desk at my home where I sometimes teach in my home studio, and I bet that pitcher of water probably came with an instruction manual of how to use it, right? But nobody gave you an instruction manual to this being who you are. Right? That's what the Buddha is essentially doing, is he's teaching you how this mind of yours works, how the world around you works, and now you can skillfully learn that and cultivate wisdom, and now you can navigate the world more peacefully. Another way that I think about it is when we were growing up, we were taught to clean this body, and we understand that it's wise to clean this body. That's something that we do each day, and we can't imagine not cleaning this body each day. That nobody maybe ever taught you how to clean your mind. Maybe you never took the opportunity, or maybe you never lived in a place that people understood how to clean the mind. And if you went around for several days, weeks, months, or years without cleaning your body, you'd be very uncomfortable. Well, if you haven't been cleaning the mind, which is this other part to this being who you are, well, of course you feel uncomfortable. Of course you have stress and anxiety because you haven't been able to clean the mind. You don't have the wisdom of how to do that. You know how to brush your teeth. You know how to put on deodorant. You know how to wash your hair. You know how to clean your ears. You know how to cut your fingernails and your toenails. You know how to do all that stuff. But maybe you've never learned how to clean your mind. And there's these two parts to this being who you are, which is the physical body, and then there's this mind. And that's what the Buddha is teaching you how to do, is how to clean this mind. And now with that, you'll be able to experience more and more improvement in your day-to-day life. So I'll just stop here and see if you guys would like to ask anything or have any kind of discussion. You're welcome to ask any and all questions that you like. Remember, here we have the microphones, and then online you guys can put it into Facebook, YouTube, or Zoom, or raise your hand in Zoom. So does anybody here online have questions? No questions? Okay, let me see if we have anything here. Okay, I don't see any questions anywhere. You have a question? Yes, sir. Yeah, help yourself. Oh, our camera just went off. Hold on. Let me fix that because the people online.
Test. That happens a lot in Asia with me. A lot of scars on my head. Strong-headed. Sorry I was late. Cutting off thoughts, or whenever you sense yourself coming into agitation, frustration, whatever. I was gone in the beginning of this, and what is your advice for cutting off those thoughts and then putting yourself into your breath?
Okay, so let me switch over to a visual aid here so that people online can see. I've got a couple of places that I just need to turn this on. So in order to get to the point where you can, oops, let me grab that. Okay, so in order to get to the point where you can cut off and let go, you need to practice an entire path that the Buddha taught. It's not just meditation, okay? So let me just go to this visual aid. It's back here a little ways. Here it is. This is the core central teaching of the Buddha. I'm actually going to be teaching this tomorrow morning as part of our Harmony and Relationships course. We have a course that's Monday through Friday this week. From 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. And you can come to the whole course or you can come to bits and pieces of it. But tomorrow morning is the first day, and I'm going to be teaching the core central teaching of the Buddha, which is this Eightfold Path. This is the everything that the Buddha taught plugs into this. And this is what's training your mind to eliminate that holding on and that craving, desire, attachment. So in the meditation, what you need to be able to do is apply effort to cut off and let go. And you're practicing that as a regular ongoing thing to proactively train your mind. But there's other things that you need as well. And it's described here as part of the Eightfold Path. This is just an image, but behind each one of these factors, there's words that the Buddha shares, which explains to you what each one of these factors are. This is essentially a plan of how to fix your mind. In terms of developing a life practice to transform your mind, this is the life practice. So there isn't any kind of magic button or anything that's going to instantly train your mind to cut off and let go. But through practicing things like meditation, through practicing generosity, where you're giving and sharing with the people around you, because your mind will tend to be selfish and hold on to things when you have craving, desire, attachment, it trains your mind to let go. So you need to be able to practice mindfulness, which is awareness of mind, but there's more detail there. And then you need to apply right effort to be able to cut off and let go. And that's what's going to allow your mind to be able to do this. So there isn't anything magical, but it's through consistent, ongoing, proactive training that you build this internal mechanism inside your mind to be able to cut off. And it takes time to gradually train the mind to do this. One of the things you can do is you can redirect the mind. We're talking about outside of meditation now, that you can redirect the mind, because inside meditation, what you're doing is you're redirecting the mind back to the breath. But in day-to-day life, you can redirect the mind. So for example, let's just say you're watching the news and you're sitting on your sofa at home, and as you're watching the news, you see something that you don't like. And now all of a sudden you notice the anger coming up. Well, instead of just sitting there and dwelling in that and allowing the mind to stay wired that way, you would like to apply the effort to redirect the mind. So you can take the mind somewhere else. You can go for a walk. You can go for a bike ride. You can go get a glass of water from the kitchen. That's going to help you to cut off and let go of whatever your mind is holding on to. Because if you allow the mind to form the feeling, then it's just going to keep doing that. If you do this enough, where eventually you can watch the news and you don't get angry, you don't get frustrated. But when you have craving, desire, attachment in your mind, you're craving for the world to be a certain way. Now your mind's going to experience something like anger or frustration. So let's just say you have a craving for everyone in the world to be peaceful, right? We're not talking about what would be wise or unwise. Of course, it'd be wonderful if everybody in the world would be peaceful. But that's not the world we live in. We live in an impermanent world where some people are peaceful and some people are not, right? So when you're watching the news, if you hear about someone getting murdered or raped or a bank getting robbed or a war breaks out or something like that, you might notice anger coming up in your mind. That's because you have a craving for permanence, wanting and longing, yearning for the world to be a certain way. And you don't live in that permanent world. The world doesn't function according to the way you want it to function. It functions according to these natural laws. And your mind is craving that permanence. And when you experience that, you might notice the anger arising. And that's where you redirect the mind. And if you do this enough, where you keep redirecting the mind, over time you can watch it and you can understand. You'll have care and you'll have concern, but you won't have any anger or frustration or agitation or annoyance or even the slightest ickiness in your mind. So this is how you do it, is with breathing mindfulness meditation, with generosity, and then in your day-to-day life, you redirect your mind to something else. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Other questions you guys have? Yes, sir.
For the meditation class. I also have a question about meditation. So I wonder that when I focus the meditation on my breath, and also when I focus on a special moment in my life, if my mind was meditating, was thinking the moment I had before, which is great. For example, on top of a mountain or enjoy the sunshine, something like that. I didn't focus on my breath. I was just focused on an image or a feeling. And then I just stick on that thing for the whole time. So is that also counting to as a meditation, or was it different?
That's not what you would like to be doing, because in that situation, you're allowing your mind to wander and have these various thoughts. Your mind is like a wild animal. There's the body, there's the mind, and then the combination of these two things, the Buddha calls the person. And the person needs to get discipline and control over the mind. When your mind's angry and sad and frustrated and having guilt and shame and fear, you don't have discipline. You don't have control over your mind. Your mind's out there being angry and frustrated. So the person needs to discipline the mind and control the mind. So if you allow your mind to just have that thought and you indulge in that thought and you kind of think about this thing from the past, you're just allowing your mind to go forward and indulge in that thought rather than pull it back so that now the person can control the mind. That's what you would like to be able to get to. So in meditation, this particular meditation is called Breathing Mindfulness Meditation. This is like going to the gym and exercising to be able to build the strength of your mind. Like in the gym, you're going to lift weights to make your muscles stronger, right? And then when your friend's like, hey, can you help me move my sofa? You're like, sure, no problem. And you can help them move their sofa because you were able to do that because you have these muscles now. Well, your mind is just like that. Your mind's like a muscle that if you use it, then it'll become very strong and you'll be able to control your mind. But if you allow it to kind of frolic around in the forest, so to speak, then you're not going to be able to actually control it. So when you see your mind wandering like that, you'd like to cut it off and come back to the breath. And more, when you do this, you'll gain control and your mind will actually won't pull anymore. One of the analogies that you can understand is actually from the teachings of the Buddha. He talks about this post or this pillar, and he talks about these 6 animals that are tied to this post or pillar. And these 6 animals are pulling in opposite directions, like the birds pulling to the sky, the snakes pulling towards the anthill, the alligators pulling towards the river. You know, all these animals are pulling different directions. Well, when they get to the end of the rope, because they're tied to this post or pillar, they get yanked back to the post, right? And then they pull again and they keep getting yanked back, and they pull again and they keep getting yanked back. Well, eventually, if they pull enough and they keep getting yanked back, they're going to understand, I can't go anywhere. I'm tied to this post and pillar, and they're just going to sit down next to that post and pillar and they're going to be calm, right? So your mind's the same way, that for many, many years in meditation, it's going to pull and you keep yanking it back, and it's going to pull and you yank it back, and it pulls and you yank it back. Not just in meditation, but in your day-to-day life too. You'll be walking down the street and you'll be like, wow, look at that woman, or look at that guy. Wow, he's so handsome, right? Or wow, look at that car, or wow, did you smell that chocolate cake? Let's go get some chocolate cake. And your mind's pulling in all these different directions, right? So if you keep yanking it back and yanking it back, training your mind so that you can have discipline, eventually it won't pull like that. It'll just be like, that smells like some really good chocolate cake. I think I'd like to go get a piece, instead of, oh my gosh, where's the chocolate cake, right? The mind's all shaken up. So in order to get the discipline and control of your mind, you've got to keep bringing it back to the breath. That's the post, that's the pillar that you're yanking it back to. And over time, it gets trained to the point where it doesn't pull any longer. It's nice and calm and steady and stable because the person has control over the mind. Mm-hmm.
Understand. So this is not, for example, is that also a brain training? Like if I just focus on particular thing, not everything, just a particular thing, or I focus on that. Maybe I think about that. I just let my brain. I close my eyes because I rarely have the time to close my eye and think a particular thing. I don't control my brain, but somehow I control my brain to think a particular thing for some time, and I feel also good. Is that also it has any benefit, or is also like
Yeah, it's actually taking your mind in the opposite direction of enlightenment, because what you're trying to do is build this internal mechanism in your mind where you can cut off and let go when there is a thought. Like, for example, if you are at work and you have the thought of punching your boss in the face, you'd like to cut that off and let it go, because if you allow it to stay in the mind, now you're going to potentially act upon it, and you're going to maybe be in jail and without a job and no income and things like this. So when you have a thought, if you allow your mind to stay focused on it, or even like, let's just say some people might meditate and look at a candle. They're just looking at the candle. They're not training their mind to cut off and let go. You've got to train the mind to cut off and let go, because that's the whole underlying problem that the mind has, that it won't cut off and let go. That when you broke up with a boyfriend or girlfriend, your mind was holding on and you were missing that person and you were lonely and you were bored and you were angry and frustrated. And it wasn't until your mind let go that you regained your peace and your joy. So you might have went several days or weeks or months, or some people even years, that they spend time missing this boyfriend or girlfriend that they once had. So you can actually train your mind to let go, and now you can protect it and you can preserve your peacefulness and your joy. But if you allow your mind to focus on a thought or any particular object during meditation, this particular meditation isn't for that. This meditation is to cut off and let go. And if you're interested in getting to this peaceful and joyful mental state that the Buddha taught, this better way of life, you would need to get your practice close to what the Buddha did and practice what he did, rather than, all the new age stuff that you see people doing. Oftentimes it's taking your mind in the opposite direction of enlightenment. So allowing your mind to have a thought and then staying focused on that thought isn't building that internal mechanism to cut off and let go. And that's what you ultimately would like to build, because that's what's going to help you in your day-to-day life. When you see an unwholesome thought coming up, you can cut it off and let it go. Mm-hmm. Yep. You're welcome. Okay. I don't see any other questions anywhere. So what I'll do then is just end by thanking all of you guys for joining. Thank you for your interest to learn and understand the teachings of the Buddha. If you guys would like to learn more, you're more than welcome to. At 9 o'clock tonight, I'm going to be teaching again. I'm going to do this meditation, but then I'm actually going to be teaching. I'm going to be teaching chapter 15 from this book. Chapter 15 is titled True Love, Love Without Attachment. This is where you learn about what true love is, because in the unenlightened state, you oftentimes lack wisdom of what true love is. If you're falling in love and out of love with people, or if you think love hurts and love is painful, you're not understanding what true love is yet. And this is the reason why you have difficulties and struggles in your relationships. And if you don't understand what true love is, that means you're not practicing true love. So it's very challenging for you to ever experience true love coming towards you, because you're not actually practicing true love. So the more you understand what true love is, you can actually practice it, and then you'll experience more and more love in your life, and you'll experience more fulfilling, satisfying, and harmonious relationships. So at 9 o'clock tonight, I'm going to start with meditation, but then I'm going to teach that particular topic for students. And you can attend here, you can attend through our live stream, however you guys would like to attend. You can even watch the recording if you like. It's really up to you. So there's various classes and courses and retreats, and you'll find those on our bulletin board over there, and you'll find them on our website as well. Everything's available for you at no cost, whether it's books, audiobooks, videos, podcasts, classes, courses, retreats, even personal guidance. There's help for you to be able to experience this better way of life that the Buddha taught, so you can experience a more fulfilling and satisfying life. So enjoy whatever you do for the rest of today, and perhaps I'll see you guys in a future class. Okay? Be well and take care. Sawadee krap. Sawadee krap. Thank you again for watching. Enjoy your meditation. Look forward to seeing you online and answering any questions that you might have. Thank you so much.